Alrighty folks, welcome to the Etching and Microscopy Lab. The next part we're going to be discussing is etching, and as you're preparing for this, make sure you have your handy dandy gloves and your safety glasses on as well, so that way you're not going to get any acid on your hands or in your eyes, which wouldn't be pleasant. Alrighty, now to prepare for this lab, you're going to need have your already polished samples. If it's been a while since you polished your samples, you go ahead and go back and do the last polishing step for them, just to make sure that they're nice and clean and ready to be etched. For the etching part, what we're going to need is we're going to use our beaker, a 250 milliliter beaker, okay? And I'll go ahead and just put it inside of our sink. That way we're not getting the acid anywhere and kind of just helping to contain the mess per se, okay? We want to make sure that we don't get any water into our beaker though. We just want the acid itself. In addition, you're going to want to have a stopwatch. That way you can keep track of time. And then we're going to also have this device. Okay? This device is what we're going to use in order to put our samples in and take them out. Here's an example of our sample, okay, where you can see that we have our sample. Notice that I have the sample here at the top, and then I can press the plunger on this device to activate the arms. Then we can put it inside and then retract the plunger. Then we can put it inside. We can release with our thumb. And then we'll see that we now have our sample, our specimen, ready and held. And then we can see that the sample is on top. The reason we're going to do this is that way, as we have our beaker, we can easily put our sample in, and then we can mix it easily. Okay? Now, this currently doesn't have any acid in it. What we're going to do next is put the acid into our beaker, okay? And then what we want to do is fill up the acid so that way it is above our sample. That way, we're able to get acid onto the sample and it will etch the metal itself. Okay? Go ahead and do that. So we'll be using HNO3 as our acid, 0.5%. Okay? And once we add it to our beaker, all right, we're going to want to make sure that we're keeping track of our time. I'll go ahead and take our sample out. So as I'm putting our system together, we can see that at approximately 100 milliliters, it should be sufficiently above our line, and that will give us plenty of acid to etch multiple samples. Go ahead and take the sample out, put it to the side, and then we'll add our acid into our beaker up to 100 milliliters or so. Make sure you keep the lid and keep this closed. Alright. Using the tongs. So now we have our tongs, which we can actuate by pressing the black button on top. That will extend our tongs. We can then have our sample and our specimen. Notice that we're going to put it sample side up. Okay? And then we can retract the tongs so that way the tongs will hold our sample, our specimen for us, and notice we have the metal on top. That way when we put it down into our acid, the etchant will be on the top surface. Alright, now we're ready to etch our sample, and so we're going to go ahead and place this into our system, and we're going to use our stopwatch to keep track of the time. Alright, and for the stopwatch, let's go ahead, and this takes a little bit of calibration, a little bit of trial and error. If you're not sure where to start, usually less time is better. Then you can take it out, clean the system, and then come back to 08. Now that I've said this, we want to make sure that our acid is not in the, do not put your acid into the water. That's no bueno. we'll go ahead and leave our acid into this tray over here. Alrighty. So we'll have our acid bath. Okay. The important part here is what we're going to do is we're going to dip our sample in for a set amount of time. We're going to record how long that is. Alright, and then after we finish, then we're going to take our sample out, and then we're going to rinse with the tap water so that way we stop the etching immediately. And then once we've done that, then we can use ethanol, and then we can just dry our sample using the air gun or compressed air. Alrighty, so for this one, we'll go ahead and just try it out where we'll try etching it for, let's try 10 seconds. Alright, so you start the clock once it's gone in. And then you can just swirl it a little bit, swirl it gently. That way you're making sure to have fresh etching solution. Alright, and there we go, that's 10 seconds. We'll go ahead and put it under the flowing water. Oops, that's a little aggressive. Doesn't need to be that strong. Okay. And with that done, you can then use the ethanol. Alright. And then finally, we can use the compressed air to clean our solution. Okay. With that done, our specimen is now ready to be examined under the microscope.